Shulchan Aruch, Orach Chaim, Siman Gimel. 3. Hanhagat Bet HaKiseh. Restroom conduct. It's really Bet, the house of the Kiseh, of the chair, which means that's what it means, the bathroom, and the way you act in it, Hanhagat. Now, this means people are surprised. What kind of laws are these? It just shows there are laws in everything. We don't not have our religion even anywhere. Even in a restroom, there's things to do that show that you're a God-fearing person. As we're going to see, there's no place left out of religion. Now, Seif 1. When a person goes to the restroom, Yomar, he should say, before he goes, he should say, Hitkabedu mechubadim, from the word kavod. You honored ones, may you have honor. Vechule, etc., because there's more to that. Ve'achshav lo nahagu la'omro. But today we don't have a minhag to say this. This is coming from the Gemara in Berachot, page 60, where it says, we know we have angels always around us. So if you're going to go to the restroom, they're not following you in there. So it becomes a proper thing to say, so to speak, excuse me, malachim, have kavod, and I'm going to now go into a place that humans go, and you don't go in there. Please protect me, watch me. There's a little prayer that we say there. And when I come out, they'll come back to me. And then we say Asher Yatzar, which is another halacha that's going to come out. Now, we don't do this today because we're not on the level that we should think we have malachim all around us that we have to tell them, excuse me for a moment. It's almost like an arrogant thing to think that. So that's what it became. Not today. Today meaning in the Shulchan Aruch's time is today. Certainly today's today. So that's why we don't do it. It could be like yuhara, where we say we're being arrogant or show-offy. Some rabbis say they want to hold you could say it and should say it because it sets your mental state right. Because sometimes people, when they go to the restroom, already their mind's on other things that's not proper. So by just saying this about the angels, it's as though you're putting in your mind already something that's holy. So it's going to help you not to think of things that you shouldn't inside. But we don't necessarily do that. Not to say if there's some mekubalim, Kabbalist rabbis or holy rabbis that they might take it on themselves to do it. This we don't know if an individual will do it, but just the regular people like us, we don't do it. And even on Shabbat, that they say there's angels accompanying us, we know for sure they're there because they come on Shabbat, we say so. From shul to the house. But there they say even then you shouldn't say it if you have to excuse yourself, because they're not there for you like your merit. They're there for the kiddush, that's what they come for. So it's not like they're there for you in a sense. So you don't say it even on Shabbat. This is the end of Seif 1. However, we didn't mention on the top where it says, Ubo Yud Zayin Seifim. There are 17 paragraphs. So we're going to take them like we do, one at a time, Be'ezrat Hashem. Now Seif Bet 2. Yehet Sanua Bebet HaKiseh. A person should be modest in the bathroom, and he should not expose or reveal himself until he sits down. And of course, when you get up also. I mean, you should start revealing yourself, sit down, and then start to reveal yourself. And this is to show, again, modesty, that Hashem is everywhere, even looking, even there. And the Rama says, Hagav velo yelchu shnei anashim beyachad. Two men should not go together into the bathroom. And this is, of course, in the olden days when it was just outside, and if they were together, there was no something separating them, like even when you have stalls today in a mall or something, there's still something separating each guy. So that's different. But when you just have two men alone like that, it's not nice. One's looking at the other and you can't, it's not modest again. Two men, at least in the olden days, shouldn't go into the restroom together. But of course, in one stall, even today, you shouldn't have two men go in there. Of course, if it's a kid, a child, he needs help, that's different. And if it's an elderly person that needs help because they have an aid or something, that's also different. That's also allowed, obviously. And we say, Gam lo yidaber sham, we should not speak in there. You're not allowed to speak in the bathroom. Because it also involves the mazikin, and also it's not modest. And if you need to speak for a great need, again, Mishnah Berurah, read up on it, you're allowed as long as you're not in the middle of using the restroom, meaning in that way. If you're not relieving yourself, meaning before or after, only if you have a great need are you allowed. But if you're in the middle, even a great need, you're not allowed to talk. And it says, "V'yizgor hadelet ba'ado mishum tzniut." You should always close the door because of modesty. People just leave the door open. Obviously, that's not the proper way. It's all to be modest. And even if you're home alone, you should close the door because it's again showing that Hashem is there and you're still acting modest in a way you would publicly. The whole idea is you act in front of Hashem the way you would if even nobody's there, because you're showing that He's there. Now, if a person has to say something in order to let someone know they're in there, let's say the lock doesn't work and someone's trying to come into a bathroom, there's a party in the house, there's a lot of people, so you still shouldn't say, "Oh, I'm in here, someone's in here." You shouldn't talk like that. Even to get them to stop opening the door, you should make a noise like so that they'll stop, which does happen often. Also, this applies to men and women, even though in the olden days they encouraged women to talk because if a man would hear them from outside, he would know not to go in. But today, since everything's private, men and women should not talk in the bathroom, because it's a place of tum'ah, impurity, and impure beings or spirits are there. And when we talk, for some reason how it works, they can harm us, God forbid. As we'll see in the next Seif 3, Gimel. Im רוצה למשמש בפי הטבעת בצרור או בכיסום, לפתוח נקביו, ימשמש קודם שישב, ולא ימשמש אחר שישב, because there's a danger of witchcraft, kishafim. Now what's this about? If a person has to go relieve himself and it's not happening, not even just constipation, just regular, sometimes it's just not coming out. So sometimes the Shulchan Aruch gives an advice. In those days, of course, they had to use what they had. If you can get a pebble or a piece of wood like a toothpick and let it just touch that area, which they call the fi tabat. Tabat is like a ring. So you see what it means, that area. It's like nice, the language. So then to open up the bowels, you would try and use that. But it says the main halacha is you should not do this after you sat down. You should do this before you sat down while you're standing, because if you would do that after you sat down, somehow the kishafim, the witchcraft, can have effect on you. And of course, these are things beyond our understanding, but again, Maran brought it down in Shulchan Aruch. So we do have to know that. Now, if a person finds that they cannot relieve themselves, the Mishnah Berurah suggests to stand up, walk a little, and then sit down and stand up again, and this can help the bowels to be moved, and then a person can find that he can use the restroom, just as a good advice. Dalid 4. Lo yigale atzmo ki im melacharav tefach u'melefanav tefachim. A person should only expose himself from behind only one tefach, which is like a fist amount, and in front 2 tefachim. Ve'isha, but a lady, macharea, in the back, tefach, like a man, umelefanea, but in front, velo kilum, not any amount. Now this is all about being modest again in the restroom. If we're going to have to reveal ourselves, because obviously we have to, you have to do it even still in a limited amount. Because again, someone's watching, Hashem's watching. This is all the idea being ingrained in our minds when we're doing all these activities. And it does, it makes us think of it. So it says you should leave only in the back 1 tefach and in front the 2 tefachim. Basically like that. Of course, the rabbis say if you think you're going to dirty yourself because not enough room, you have to maybe, reveal more. So you can, it's better to reveal more than to get dirty and have waste that hit your body or your shoes even, and then you can't pray, and then you're dirty and all that. So you have to use your judgment, but again, try to stick to these rules as the rabbis say. Seif Hey, Im nifne bimkom megule she'en bo mechitzot. If a person defecates in a place that's open, like an open field, just to know this word, because in the Gemara it talks about in the morning, it says yippaneh, that he should go to the restroom that way. So now you know what that word is, because we're going to use it a lot. It's going to be part of many halachot. So now, if a person has to lifneh in public, and there's no walls or stalls or partitions, then yichaven shayu panav, he has to make sure to face ladarom, the front of him, the face to the south, and lachvachorav, his back latzafon, to the north. Or ipcha, or the opposite, north and south or south and north. Aval ben mizrach lema'arav asur, but east to west, it's asur to face, because we know the Shekhinah is in the west. And the east faces the west, so both are not good. So the east or west, whichever way you're facing, because it said the north and south, you can do that or the other way. But Mizrach and Ma'arav, either way, is Asur. This does not apply again in our bathrooms. We have walls, we have partitions. This is only in the outside. I mean, if a person's driving on the highway and they need to go outside, if it's really open area, I mean, maybe a lot of trees is like a partition too. So if there ever is a time that a person would find himself in such a situation, he should not face the east and west. Aval, it says, lehatil mayim, only to relieve water, to urinate, bechol inyan shadeh. In any case, it's allowed. This is only, again, like we said, im nifneh. And it says the Bet Yosef Beshem HaRambam, that he's quoting from the Rambam, Rav Yosef Karo from the Bet Yosef. 6 Vav, V'chein asur lishan or lishon, it's forbidden to sleep, meaning have your bed ben mizrach lemarav, from east to west, facing east and west. Im ishto imo, if your wife is with you, meaning if you're together. V'nachon lizaher afilu keshe'en ishto imo, and even if your wife is not with you, it's still proper not to have the bed facing east-west. It should face north-south. And again, meaning the head at the north and the feet in the south, because it's not nice to put your feet, and of course usually people in those days, again, they didn't have pajamas, so it means the feet area is now going to face where the Shekhinah is, not nice, which is going to be the Ma'arav. And again, we said even if it's facing the east, east and west is kind of the same because it's still facing each other. Now, interestingly enough, the Zohar says, and the Kaf HaChaim says to follow the Zohar, it's the opposite. He says we should put our head of the bed on the west, and then the east will be where your feet is. Now, what's the logic of that if the Shekhinah is there? Because they explain that really it's not that your legs are facing the place of the Shekhinah in either way. It's that we say we're supposed to lie down on our side. You're not supposed to be on your stomach or on your back. You're supposed to be on your side, really, when you sleep. It's also modest. So it means if you're going to turn to the side, now you're going to be exposing yourself that's to the side, which is now becomes east and west. If you're facing north-south, the side of you is going to be east-west. So now your part that's uncovered is going to be facing the Shekhinah. So that's why they say, the Zohar says, to face the other way, east-west, and then you'll be finding that you're uncovered towards the north and the south, which is better. And again, the Kaf HaChaim says to do it that way. But of course, we have Mishnah Birura says to do it the other way. And all these Mefarshim. So it means basically whichever way your bed is, if you did it already, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're building your house and building a room, it could be more proper to go by the Zohar and put your head at the west, if you can help it. 7 Zayin, Hamatil Mayim, if someone has to relieve himself, Min HaTzofim V'Lifnim, from in Israel, where it's the Tzofim, we know the Har Tzofim, the Scopus, and inwards, which is already Perush, Makom Shecholim Misham Lerot Harabayit, because you could see the Temple Mount from there. Umisham Vehala En Yecholim Lerot, and from there and on, you cannot see. Backwards meaning, so from Scopus inwards, it says, Lo yeshev upanav kilape hakodesh. A person should not sit while he's facing the Temple Mount, the holy place, the Kodesh, the Temple Mount. Ella litzfon o lidarom. But he should be facing north and south. O yisalek hakodesh litzdadin. Or he should try and keep that the holy place, the temple area, is to his side. Again, he shouldn't be relieving himself while he's facing that area down where the Kodesh is, where he can see it. He should be turning around a little bit out of respect. The rabbis say same thing with a shul or a bet midrash. You shouldn't relieve yourself directly next to it. Of course, we have bathrooms again. All this really doesn't apply today. It's just talking about when it was, out in the field or outside. So you shouldn't do that, again, out of respect to the Kodesh can also be a shul or a study hall. And we would have to watch out for these things. Seif Chet 8. Keshenifne basadeh, if a person has to go in the field, im hu achore hageder, if he's behind the fence, a geder, yipane miyad, he can go immediately. Ubabek'ah, but if he's in the open valley, meaning there's not a wall or a fence, people can see him, then yitrachek ad makom shelo yuchal chavero lirot peru'o. He should distance himself. He has to go walk a little bit until his friend cannot see what he's doing. Doesn't mean that they can't see him. They just can't see him, that part of him exposed. That's what it means. Because you might see him further away, but that's okay. As long as he's not exposed to them, to that amount of distance, he has to go. And then he can do what he has to do over there. Sometimes this happens again. People have to go and they're driving on the road and they go outside. So again, you have to kind of distance yourself a little bit so that people can't see you. That's why it says here, not chavero lir'oto, to see him. It says lir'ot peru'o, which is the way they translate his disorderly state. That's what they can't see. So really the word is precise in the Shulchan Aruch. Seif 9, Tet. Lo yeshev bimhera ubchozek. A person, when relieving himself, he should not sit fast in a rushed and a forceful manner. Velo ye'enos lidchok atzmo yoter midai. And he should not force himself too much to try and get the waste out in case it's not happening. Shelo yinatek shine hakarkashta. So that he should not rip or rupture that area, which is like the intestine area. So you have to be careful to follow these rules also for our health benefits as well as our modesty. Seif 10, Yud. Lo yikaneach biyad yamin. You shall not clean that area, wiping that area with your right hand. Now why not? So the rabbis say the Torah was given with the right hand. It says mimino eshtat lamo. And other reasons also, they say that we use our right hand to tie the tefillin on our left arm. Now the left arm is not what's doing the cleaning, it's the hand. So that's why the hand that's doing the knotting is what we're going with, that it shouldn't be like defiled. Even though the tefillin's on the right arm, but it's not on the on the left arm, but it's not on the left hand. So that's why we're making that differentiation. It's the tire, which is the right hand. That's we want to keep it clean. Also, the left mid finger, because it has the 3 straps around it, you shouldn't use that also alone in cleaning yourself. If you want to clean with the whole hand, it's okay, but you shouldn't specifically use that finger because it does have the tefillin pieces on it. And so we're careful about these things. Now, a lefty who writes with his left hand, the Kaf Chaim says he would then wipe with his right hand. You switch it. Lefty, if he writes only, or if he does other things with writing, obviously, then it's more being a lefty. But even if he only writes with the left, he still can do it the other way, and he can clean with the right. Now, if you never paid attention to this law, it might feel a little strange changing to your left hand. It's like writing or eating with your left hand. It's uncomfortable. You feel you don't even know how to do it. But you'll get used to it. You have to try and do this. This is a new thing. If you never heard of it, you heard of it now. Try it, and eventually it'll become second nature. 11, Yud Aleph. Lo yikaneach becheres. A person should not clean himself with earthenware, pottery, mishum keshafim, because of witchcraft. Again, things we don't understand, but that's what they're bringing. Velo ba'asavim yebeshim, and not with dry grass. Shemekaneach bedavar shehaur sholet, because the dry grass or anything that the fire quickly catches, shinav hatachtonot noshrot, then it can damage, dislocate that part of the intestine again of that area. So it's we shouldn't do that. Velo bitzror shekanach bo chavero mepnei shemevi et ha'adam lidei tachtoniot. And a person should not use a stone, a rock, again in the olden days, that his friend used, because it can bring you to hemorrhoids. Now, first of all, when we say pottery because of kishafim, obviously we're talking about a smooth piece of pottery, because otherwise if it's going to be not smooth, it can cut the person, and that's already sakana. So that alone is asur. You can't use things that have things to it that can hurt you. Even if you feel you have no choice, you're not supposed to do that. That becomes a halacha of sakana. And then when it talks about the rock of your friend, obviously if you use the other corner or other side of the rock that wasn't used, then it's okay. Now there's going to be what to learn from for these days with that. Now the Rama says, Haga ve'achshav shebate kisot shelanu, that our bathrooms einan basadeh, they're not in the field. Nahagu lekaneach becheres, you can use the pottery. Pottery and magic, witchcraft, was only something that there was a danger in the field, because usually that's where the mazikin were. So we don't have to worry about that. And it says, V'chein nahagu lekaneach, they would also wipe b'davar she'a'ur sholet bo, even something flammable that the fire would catch. They would light, they would use. Ve'eno mazik, and it wouldn't hurt. It says, Upuk hazeh ma'ama davar, go look out and see what the people are doing. Meaning we have different ways of doing things, and they're okay. We're also in private bathrooms. We're not in the field. So a lot of this does not apply. Now there's a teshuvah from Rabbi Akiva Eger, and he says, when a person kesheyotze me'abet knesset, me'abet bet kiseh, from the restroom, yir'eh hamakom sheyashav alav, he should see where he was sitting, shelo yeh tinofot, like tinofet shouldn't be dirty there from what he was doing. Shemme yavo chavero petom, because maybe somebody will come quickly, or balayla v'yashav alav, and he'll sit on that spot. And like we said, if they're using the rock, you shouldn't use that someone else used. You shouldn't have it. You shouldn't be touching there. So if a guy leaves something unclean, it's not good for the next guy. So we have to learn, again, modesty and cleanliness from this. So that's how it can apply today. Seif 12. Yipane b'tzniut balayla kemo bayom. One should relieve himself modestly at night, just like in the day. Meaning all the rules that we said apply even if it's night and you think no one's seeing, no one's watching. So the idea is still that Hashem is watching. So all what we said before applies even at night. Seif Yud Gimel 13. Lo yashtin me'umad, a person should not relieve himself while standing, mepnei nitzotzot haniktazin al raglav, lest it sprinkle down on his feet. Now, of course, this is, again, in times they didn't have bathrooms like ours, and it would hit the floor, the ground, and it might sprinkle back on the person's feet. And we have to see why this is so bad. It's not just for modesty or cleanliness reasons. It's for another reason. And it says, Im lo she'amod b'mkom gavoa, o she'ashtim letoch afar tichoach. Which means he should not do this if he is not in a high place, or if he's not on loose earth. Meaning if he has those two components, then it's okay. Because if he's high up, it won't bounce back and land on his feet. And if it's in soft, loose earth, the earth will eat it up. It won't go jumping back up. Where it says, Perush karka sheina betula, the land is not like a betula, meaning new and unplowed, but ela kegon shel eretz charusha, but it's like a plowed earth, which means, again, it'll be soaked up by it. Now, the Mefarshim explain, when a person sees someone with urine on their feet, they could think that they have a problem, which is called karut shovcha, which is from the Torah, where it means someone that his organ cannot produce a child. And when he urines, it doesn't shoot out, it just dribbles down. So that's why when people see people, at least in the olden days, with urine on their shoes or on their feet, they assume that they have this problem, and that's why they're all wet down there. And then they're going to already make the story be, this is how people exaggerate, or Lashon Hara comes out, that they're going to say that the person, he couldn't have had children. So if he has children, they're going to think it's not his, and the children were really mamzerim. And now no one will marry them. So because a little urine got on the guy's shoes, already the children, nobody's going to marry them. Look how far something can go. So that's why they say to make sure not to have that, because people love to make stories, especially when it comes to marriage, and people get afraid if they even suspect that someone has this condition. They will go this far to, in a way, protect themselves, even though, of course, they're just making up stories. So now they say also, if a person did get urine on his shoes or on his feet, just wipe it off also. Don't just now keep on moving. Wipe it off and be clean. That's the idea. Seif Yud Dalid 14. Yizaher shelo yehoz ba'ama. A person should not hold his organ v'yashtin and relieve himself. Im lo me'atara mata. If it's not from the atara, the crown, and to the end, to the tip. From there, meaning it's allowed. Mipnei shemotzi shechbat zera lebatala, because this could make a person, God forbid, waste his seed in vain, because it heats a person up when you touch there, and it can already cause zera lebatala. But from the crown and on, a person doesn't get that feeling of getting heated up from that area. Ela imken hu nasui, unless he's married. If he's married, and it says he has pat besalo, bread in his basket, meaning he has a wife, so he's not really thinking about that too much, because he knows he can be with her when he wants, so it doesn't arouse him so much like that. So then if he needs to touch, he can. Umidat chasidut lizaher afilu hanasui, but even midat chasidut, pious practice, is to even be careful and not to touch, even if you are married. Now certainly, if you're married and your wife is in the state of nida and you can't be with her, so then you're like a single person for those 2 weeks, because your mind is not thinking that you're going to be able to do whatever you want, so now you might get heated up in that sense. So it's all relative to the situation. Seif 15 Tetvav. Afilu misha eno nasui, even someone who's not married and single, and we said he can't touch, mutar l'saya bebeitzim. He could still assist himself by touching the beitzim, the testicles. And again, the Mefarshim say, because a person doesn't get really heated up from touching there like he does the other spot. So at least if he needs to assist and to hold, he can try from there and continue with what he's doing. It's amazing how careful we have to be. And it just shows you how the zera levatala, wasting the seed, how important it is not to do that. Even when a person is married with his wife, he shouldn't do that. Seif 16 Tet Zayin. Lo hoter lenasui le'choz ba'ama ela le'ashtin, aval lehitchachech lo. It was only permitted for a married man to touch his organ only to urinate, but not for other reasons. If he has to scratch or to brush against it or something like that, still a person should not touch, because it can cause zera vatala and cause chimum, which means to get heated. That's the Hebrew word that we were saying all along. It brings lidei chimum. Of course, you can always scratch, with your clothes on. I mean, it does the job. So you don't really always need to touch in that sense. Yud Zayin 17. Hamasheh nikavav, someone who delays relieving himself, over mishum bal teshaketsu. There's a commandment: you shall not make yourself like a sheketz, abominable. And when you hold yourself back, it's being like that. And of course, a person can certainly not pray if he needs to go, but even not praying, you just can't just hold it in until you desperately have to go. People do that in work, but that's not the right thing. You should always go right when you have the feeling. You should go. Of course, there's great health benefits and it could be a dangerous situation when people do wait. It could cause a person to be sterile, not to have children, and different things. Now, this could be, it's among the rabbis an argument whether this is on a biblical level or rabbinical level, but it's still based on this pasuk of Bal Tishaketsu. Now, there are times that would be a nidche, meaning pushed away, that a person could wait if he needed to. If it would be embarrassing, let's say he's outside and he has to just find a place, find a public bathroom. Obviously, he doesn't just go where he is because he needs to, even if he has to very much. He can still wait that little bit of more time just to find a place. This is for kevod habiriyot, for the honor of people, that they shouldn't be embarrassed. So again, all these laws are here for us to keep in mind our Creator and that He's always with us and we're really never alone.